What's up, guys? So I just read the end of, well, up until the end of chapter 42, and man, was it crazy, crazy, crazy. It is now 2 a.m., and I've still decided to do a video on this. Um, but I'm gonna try and keep it short. Why? Because it's 2 a.m. Two, because these tend to go forever. Um, But yeah, let's just get started. Spoiler alert first off. This is some crazy crazy stuff. First up, I have to give it up to anyone who understands what's going on right now. So spoiler alert to anyone who has yet to watch it. But this is going to be a discussion on Attack on Titan up until chapter 42. So I'll talk about the whole manga. But this will be solely on from where I left off in the last video up until 42 specifically, but I will be talking about the whole thing as a whole. So first off, as an author, during the first half of this chapter, crazy crazy stuff. um, th- that scene where Eren was pulled aside and Bertholdt and his I forgot the other guy's name. They just casually told Eren that he and his companion were the armored and colossal Titan. Just that scene, that single panel when that was set up, it was just ridiculous because he was just casually mentioning it, and on top of that, there's people that was just barely. I can't even call it outside of earshot range because they were still in earshot range, but in that one panel, you could see them, and people were walking away from Eren, and some looked to be still in earshot range, but it was just set up so casually, as in, like, there's all these people nearby walking away, and it was almost just magical. And I know this can happen in real life because I've done it myself. I have casually mentioned stuff that would probably shock a lot of people. Nothing crazy, just random stuff, because I know that people are stupid and they don't, even if they're in earshot, they're too wrapped up in their own worlds to notice. So this is what happened. The colossal titan the colossal titan and the armored titan have been revealed, and it was revealed so casually, and that panel was just genius. And after I read that, I was thinking to myself, the author he is just amazing because he is almost every chapter looking to raise the bar. And I hate to trash on Fairy Tail, but the people who watch my videos on Attack on Titan, I feel don't watch Fairy Tail, so I have the right to trash Fairy Tail right now. Um, Fairy Tail fails to do this. It has again and again every chapter as a manga. Not always, but most of the time, it has failed to exceed my expectations. It never goes beyond the bar, and when it does, it's like meh. And I am completely astonished as to why Fairy Tail is so popular, more popular than Hunter x Hunter, and I'll give it a lot of credit for whatever reason that it's higher in popularity than a lot of manga. It's actually in the top five most popular manga in the world or something like that. That may be wrong, but it's in the top 10 for sure, I think, which astounds me to no end. But I can't understand why Attack on Titan will not surpass Fairy Tail. I know it's new, so that is why it may not currently be, but if it does not, I will be completely astounded. Granted, this is so much more mature content than Fairy Tail, and that may be why, but Fairy Tail, And there's probably going to be a lot of people arguing with me if they are fairy tale lovers, um, because I do get a lot of that when I'm reviewing fairy tale already. But I mean, Attack on Titan is on a completely different level in terms of plot and series. Granted, it's a lot more mature, a lot more gritty in terms of gore and disgustingness. Um, but Fairy Tale resorts to a lot of um, minor but extended female exposure and to draw its fans. So I can't even play the card that it's a difference in maturity and it's playing to the younger generation, because compared to what I just read on Attack on Titan, and I mean the last few chapters before that, it was just constantly raising the bar. The only thing that comes close is Toriko, and a lot of people, well, not a lot, a minority have commented in my videos and argued that I am biased, and I may be, because I touted Toriko as currently above Naruto, and people have complained about that. But Fairy Tail, you can't play the card that they're playing to a younger audience, which is why the plot is so simple and naive, and the characters have no depth, because that's what it is. The fairy tale characters are just too simple. There's no depth to the plot at all. It's just bad guys. It's even worse than Power Rangers, because at least Power Rangers just still some plot and stuff in there and emotion in there compared to Fairy Tale. But regardless, this chapter, granted, there were certain small lulls in the chapter that were slightly boring. I mean, I'm not going to say it was perfect or flawless, but this decision from the author to make these guys the Colossal and Armored Titan, I had no idea was coming. Because he could have chosen to make these guys anyone. He could have made them the Commander Pixis, who was also bald, and a lot of others. And for these two to just be chosen, and then I'm like, I did not see that coming at all, despite all the theories I had postulated in my previous video. And I'm thinking to myself, this author is just not, he's not only making it up as he goes, he's making sure to make it as crazy as you can make it, so you never expect what's coming. And I think that's what he's doing when he's making the story. He's like, what can I do to make it so that the readers are like, what the heck, I didn't see that coming. And he's always looking for that. And I think when he decided on these guys to be the Colossal and Armored Titan, he literally thought, who can I choose that the readers don't expect? And then he chose it immediately, because based on what I've seen, like this was done in a way that, like, I really feel like the author has like very little time to come up with this stuff, which makes it even more genius. I mean, he has to put out every single issue, and so this was like a spur of the moment decision that just worked perfectly. That couldn't have happened from hours and months of planning either, because the flavor just wouldn't be right. And on top of this, it's like it almost like, at the same time, it was almost planned, because at first I was like, this had to be a spur of the moment decision, but then you get that flashback in chapter 42 when it's like, nope, not at all. Because in the flashback, it was like they referenced the whole Annie thing, where it was like Annie got her fingers chopped off, and all of a sudden Annie knew where to go to find Eren, and apparently words were written on Annie's hands when it got chopped off. And I can see the author sort of, revising that flashback to accommodate this new change. But even so, for that to have been done and envisioned and just orchestrated, astounding work. I hope you guys know what I'm talking about. The flashback where Annie and Berthold, I think his name is, they're interacting, and Annie picks him up. He cuts off the fingers, and then Annie pauses. We didn't really see the pause for that long, but now they've again revised the flashback to accommodate this new exchange. So now it's just like WTF, what's going on? I can put out more theories, but really they just be old theories slightly revised to accommodate this. Um, and it's crazy because these two guys are just, they're not even in Ysir's level. Because as far as I could tell, the Colossal Titan was 50 meters tall. And from what I've read, I think I stopped at the end of 42. Once the Colossal guy transformed, he could only transform like his upper body because like he's so huge. And so he and the Armored Titan, who I believe is shorter but still pretty big, the Armored Titan is like what, maybe 15 to 30 meters, which is still much larger than Annie, much larger than most aberrants, larger than the Haired Titan, and finally much larger than Ymir, who's probably not even a 15 meter, probably smaller than Annie. So it's just like, what the heck is going on? That's 4 troop members who are Titans. 2 in the scouting. No. How many in the scouting? 3 in the scouting. 1 in the military police. It's just ridiculous. Like, how many more are there? And what is the purpose of all of these guys? And based on all I've seen, I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever anymore that these guys are not bad people. They're good-hearted people. They're great people. Ymir was a great person, fighting it out, risking her life to save these people. And that begs even more questions. Because it seems like even I forgot their names, I'm sorry, Berthold or something like that. Even the Colossal and Armored Titan didn't know Ymir was a member, which begs more questions. Maybe they were seeded into the division without them knowing. They knew Annie was also a Titan, but they didn't know Ymir was, even though they came from the same village. So therein lies that whole theory that they were like using, which was that everyone coming from that village had something to do with this conspiracy, possibly, which was my theory initially. Everyone coming from this specific village had some sort of human titan ability for whatever reason, and they were all related to the conspiracy with the government, which wasn't the case because these guys didn't know Ymir was a human titan as well, despite them all coming from the same village. So I can spout out a lot of theories here, but I just want to get the big facts straight. Wow. So my whole idea is that these guys are all good-hearted people, but there is something more important than the survival of humanity that have been forced onto their shoulders, and they have to bear this huge burden in order to do it. I mean, they were pretty much told to break down the wall and attack humanity, which is crazy, and they did it too. And they're not bad people, I can tell. Ymir sacrificed her own life, and she survived. But like, she knew this whole time that even if she survived, like, she'd probably be locked up, questioned, and would probably either face a fate where she had to end up like Annie, sacrificing herself for the greater good, like a spy, without giving away any information. So Ymir was screwed in a lot of ways, which is why the Armored and Colossal Titan kind of transformed. I mean, they were thinking rationally in certain ways. And I guess the only irrational guy there was, again, Eren, who's a complete fool in my opinion. Complete idiot, naive guy who's just very brash in his emotions. So they take Eren aside, they say what they have to say. Eren, again, is just too naive and simpleton, and he wants the simplistic view of the universe. We're the good guys, you're the bad guys. So he responds in kind. How can you even say such a thing? You guys aren't are the armored and colossal titan. You're delusional. You need some rest. And even if that were true, did you honestly think I would just come with you guys? And then once I read that, I'm like, now, wow, they are now screwed, because like sure they tried to play it off like it was nothing, but I think the reason why they transformed like half a second later was they realized that they couldn't just play it off like, oh, I was just delusional at the time. Um, the military police is going to investigate when they say that sort of stuff. And Aaron's probably going to blabber it out. Yeah, those guys just admitted they were the armored and colossal titan, but then they said they were just kidding when I said I wouldn't join them. So I'm like, wow, they just screwed themselves over. Aaron's a complete idiot. And then they made the rational choice, which was, well, technically, the blonde-haired guy did. The black-haired guy, he didn't want to have any of it. The blonde-haired guy, like judging from his dialogue before transformation, I have no doubt that he's a good guy. He said his dialogue was pretty much, long story short, it was like, I've spent 3 years burdened with this sort of stuff, surrounded by fools, and I wish I hadn't learned about any of this. And now that I have, I don't know what's right or wrong anymore. And that was the big line that just shook me. It was like, there has got to be something for the greater good, that's a huge burden, and something even greater, that causes them to have to be traitors to their own humanity. Um, and he's like, I don't know what's right or wrong anymore. And he's obviously pushed beyond the boundary, and yeah, he's pretty much like, we're going to transform now. So he, boom, turns into armored titan. No, before that happens, he heals his arm immediately after like pulling it out of the brace, and all of a sudden Mikasa comes in, and I just thought this was completely foolish. Mikasa, I mean, it was brutal. She cuts off his arm again, and then the sword is still going. It cuts part of his other hand, who's trying to block it, and then it cuts into his neck. And then the next panel is Mikasa with her other arm cutting straight into the other guy's neck. And so I'm like, those seem like pretty clean swoops. Are these guys dead now? Because it seems like the swords are going to keep going, and they're going to chop off these guys' heads. And in human form, you can't heal that. At least I don't think so. So that seemed like the rash. I mean, in terms of, if you're planning on doing that, Mikasa, you should follow through and cut off their heads. But apparently, like, maybe the blade dulled or whatever, but it was kind of unclear. It seems like she got kicked back by one of them before the blades could penetrate, or she just stopped. So right after, Mikasa pulls Eren and says, run away. And so they survived. Obviously they had cuts deep in their neck, but they survived. And from what it seemed, I don't think she was kicked back before she could have cut off their heads, but for whatever reason she restrained herself, and that was a dumb move if that was her intention. Technically, I just thought her whole idea of attacking them was dumb. Like, sure, he got angry and he took his arm off the brace and healed it, but that didn't mean he was going to like confront Eren and immediately like, kill Eren right there and then. Perhaps he may have transformed into a Titan and taken Eren away. So technically, what Mikasa did was right. But on the flip side, it's like, it was a little brash on Mikasa to do that. I mean, these are your companions. And I just thought really, I was a little angered in Mikasa doing this, because These were good guys, and you could see it. I forgot the tall black-haired guy who is the blonde-haired guy's companion. Um, so otherwise call him the Colossal Titan from now on. This guy was crying throughout this scene. Ever since they revealed who they were to Eren, he had tears in his eyes. So I don't think these guys are good guys. And for Mikasa to do such a thing, I mean, sure, it was technically the rational route, but I just felt like it was so bad. I mean, none of these guys are bad people, honestly. And I mean, you can tell, like, had they wanted to kill Eren, they could have. But they were, from back to Annie, they were always constantly trying to take Eren away without harming him to wherever. And even Eren himself, the naive fool he is, didn't notice, which angst me to no end. Like the final 2 pages was Eren saying, screaming out, "You traitors!" and then biting into his thumb and becoming a Titan and ripping out of the armored Titan's arms. I hated that because these guys, like, for Eren to just I mean, for him to just turn on these guys and just assume them to be traitors, despite hearing everything that's gone through and seeing this guy crying and so forth, I just thought it was irrational and retarded of them. Because they're not traitors, not in that sense. I mean, maybe they may be, but they're good guys. And I'm sure if Eren had simply went with them, there would have been a lot less bloodshed. I mean, remember that time Annie was crying when they finally rescued Eren from Annie's mouth in her Titan form. Like when they were running away, there was a zoom in on Annie and she was crying in her female Titan form. So I don't think they're bad people. And for Eren to just, naturally assume this, it's retarded. And I truly hope that they just beat the heck out of Eren. I mean, they should. The armored Titan form just looks a lot stronger. The Colossal Titan form looks a lot bigger. They probably know how to crystallize. Eren doesn't. It should be cake. I mean, even Annie beat Eren like twice. Technically the second time Eren beat Annie, but I mean that was because they had like the whole scouting legion. Well, a lot of the scouting legion to help, and Annie was pretty much trapped in the wall already. But there's still a lot of questions to be answered about all this. I don't know what the heck's going on. It angsts me to no end, and that's pretty much all I want to say. Leave your comments if you want. These take a lot of work, guys. And if you've watched all of this video until now, leave a comment because I'm really thankful for someone to actually appreciate all of this video. I put a lot of work into all these videos, including uploading them up. I have to transfer them to the computer, and each one requires a full battery charge. Which reminds me, the battery's gonna die any second now. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. And as always, leave a comment if you think I should keep doing this, because like I have to put in a good deal of time and effort for just 10 to 20 views on my videos. So spread the word, share the videos, share not just on Google Plus because no one uses Google Plus, but wherever friends will want to watch this. As always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe.